turn it on first.
Sure.
There we go.
Kind of couple all these times,
You
but
want me
yeah,
to
sure.
stay? Or just,
You can feel free.
Sorry. Okay. Okay. Red button. Okay. That says memories full. All right. Get started. If you all stand and join me in saying the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, I apologize for the delay. We were in executive session talking about employee issues, employee problems. Do we have any changes to the agenda, Jenna? Okay. Public input, there was none unless I missed anyone. Okay. Township official input. I know they voted, I just wanted to say that they voted yesterday, but I didn't hear the results of adding a polling station in Campbelltown.
They're going.
hear the
to-
results?
Yeah, they're going to add a
It
polling
was,
station. They're gonna split Campbelltown.
and
I
the
mean, they're gonna
map
split
should be
South
out in our hallway, correct?
So.
So if anybody wants to look at that.
But I forget if they're gonna implement it for the primary or not, or if it's, I don't know.
They said it'll go, not the primary, the general.
The general, I think, yeah.
Okay.
So.
Okay, and then we did get, I know this isn't on there anywhere, but we did get a library report. But Kendra will probably be here next time, so I don't think we're missing anything here. Did you either of you have anything to add for township officials?
no.
No.
No, okay. New business insurance quote. We have two quotes. One is from Bowman's and one is from Strickler. Bowman's is with Pennsylvania Manufacturers Association and Strickler was our same, why can't I find, selective, correct? Jenna, am I saying that right?
That's correct.
Okay. And we have, I thought they seemed pretty similar, apples to apples as much as you can. And Bowman's was cheaper. I thought I wrote the price down somewhere here. What's that?
PMA was cheaper.
Hmm?
I thought PMA is cheaper, $49,933.
Yes.
Through Bowman.
Yeah, through Bowman's. They're the broker or whatever.
Oh, I didn't realize Bowman's was the broker for the PMA as well.
Yes, he provided EMC and PMA
Okay.
in
Oh,
his
that's right,
quotes.
I didn't.
And then selective, or Strickler just gave us selectives because they were the cheapest. I received an email from Jeff Edwards of Bowman's, and he and I had talked about adding on the cyber liability in case of cyber attack, that we would be covered. He said he didn't have like a final quote, but he's thinking $100,000 worth of coverage with about $333 additional to that price.
Okay. So the difference we're looking at with PMA, I did write it down here, is almost $3,000. So if we add $300 more of coverage, we're still
And I don't think
less.
that this one has that
Selective.
selective pass, sorry, selective, I don't think that they have, I was looking for it.
I saw they had a bunch of people on for drivers that aren't even employed here anymore in this policy. I thought that was odd. Is that something that we update?
Yeah, it doesn't cost us anything to have them on there, but yes, it does need to be updated.
I saw a couple things, I don't think any of them will change it a whole lot, but like the Wallnox pavers on there. And we haven't owned that for probably 7 or 8 years.
Okay.
Which is fine, cause that thing was worth 5 or 10 grand, but the Levoy paver that we do own is not on there, and was a $70,000 machine when it was bought.
I wonder if it was, scheduled for Strickler. I'll have that updated.
Might be a wise idea to make each department head review that.
I went over everything with Jarrell, whether is it on the Bowmans?
It's both of them.
It's both of them.
Yeah.
It's probably because we have our one from selected from last year that we provided to him. When I went over it with Bowman's, because I did go over everything with Jarrell, to make the maintenance logs and stuff too.
Yeah.
I went off of that, but we'll have that updated for both, or for either policy, whichever one we go with.
And I think I only saw one backhoe. We have two. In the first one, I'm assuming the second policy in here indicates that their limit of insurance values, but on the first one here, it has value. So if these are supposed to be current values, they're way off.
Okay.
I mean, they have this 2005 Caterpillar backhoe at 103,000. That thing's worth 25 grand.
Is it replacement value?
That's what I mean, like this
versus-
one's not very clear.
Yeah.
Like the second policy says limit of insurance. Sometimes they refer to them as cost new, sometimes it's current value. We just wanna make sure we clarify.
Okay.
It's not, that inland marine stuff does not add up to very much money, but I mean, like that 78 Blawnox paver is for 9 grand, we don't own it. I mean, they have little stuff, but like this 2008 steel cutoff saw for $1,000, that thing wasn't $1,000 when it was new.
Okay.
The welder for $3,800. Like these numbers just seem way, even if they are supposed to be new, some of them don't really seem to be in line. Like I said, I don't think, that stuff's usually cheap.
Whichever company you approve tonight, I'll make
Just
sure
have to
that
clean it up.
everything is up.
I mean, they're
Concurrent.
probably working off a table for replacement costs. That's generally what, like, it'll be like a table they're probably working off of.
The only other thing, well, two other things I had, there's a line for rented leased equipment and it's only $100,000. I remember looking at those rental invoices from Cleveland Brothers and that equipment we're renting far exceeds $100,000.
Okay.
So we're gonna need to adjust that amount or buy the insurance when we rent them, which is gonna be far cheaper just to carry
Okay.
a higher limit. And then the last note I think I have was the sewer authority probably ought to approve it as well if they don't, whatever we do, because I'm assuming that we're getting reimbursed for their portion of it.
Yes.
Well, their meeting should be soon.
For Thursday, right?
I think it was already.
Oh, was it?
Is it the
I would-
first?
I thought it
It would
was-
be next,
Is it next?
I don't know,
Yeah.
thrown off because we're here at the
March
workshop.
already, almost March already. The 7th.
Okay.
There's a $25,000 line item in here for fire department services, so make sure if you respond, we get that.
Usually from seeing homeowners policies, it's usually the department that is in your area can't collect. It's for other departments outside of your
Well, then make sure they send it to PALMYRA.
area.
I'll believe that check when I see it.
Okay, any other questions? Do I have a motion to approve one of these?
I would motion to approve PMA.
Second.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, all those in favor?
I
Oh.
guess should, like, when, maybe next month we come back, we finalize the number, just because we're gonna add.
Our plan is over March 4th. Our current
So do
plan
we
expires
wanna,
March 4th.
do we wanna put some cushion on that number to allow her to, I'm not sure how that. I
Do we
mean,
need, do we make a sure. We can approve with this and then we'll get the adjustments and then I guess approve it again, right? Because we're gonna ask for an increase.
I guess if it's not over 10% of what you're
We're all right.
approving,
Right.
Okay.
it's up to you.
I just didn't want, if you were gonna add that cybersecurity or whatever and make those couple changes, I'm not sure.
You can just put
I'm
it,
not sure
I
it's
put
gonna
it in
be-
the motion that the
Pending.
cybersecurity will be added to the cost of the premium,
And then you had adjustments on certain equipment.
and then I'll.
And then an
All
increase.
the equipment, that stuff should go down. The only thing that will probably add cost will be that rented equipment, but
Rental.
I think it's gonna be very, very minimal.
Okay.
Okay,
So
so,
just put it with the condition, add the rental equipment and the, cyber.
and the proposed cost is $49,933. Okay, anything else? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Need some tape? All right, HVAC upgrade. Do we have anything
No.
besides the fact that we don't have heat right now? Or it's not
I'm
working right?
waiting for a quote. I emailed Midstate to find out where the second quote is, and I've gotten nothing back from them.
Okay, and then what about today? Did Spinagle come in or were they not able to?
I called service, there's very little heat over on the police side. I called, and our side is chillier than normal. I called service and they said they would send somebody out today. They couldn't tell me what time, but chief stayed over after work hours between meeting and now to wait for somebody. And I emailed Jeff today to say, hey, I didn't forget about the iView thing. In the meantime, we called for service and nobody showed up and nobody called. So I'm not sure what's going on.
Not very impressive when you're
No.
trying to sell additional services.
No. I can call another company in. E.H. Williams was very, they gave a quote for just the maintenance. at
That was for
time.
the air conditioning?
That was just
for
for all the
everything?
units.
That was
just
the
to
annual
maintain it.
contract.
Yeah, it was an
Yeah.
annual contract. That they would come in and maintain them like twice a year or whatever, clean them and get them ready for each season. But, I don't know. I don't know what to say at this point. We don't have a contract with anybody, so we're not going to be on the priority list.
That was the problem though. None of those quotes offered any type of,
The one offered, E.H. Williams offered like a 20% discount for after hours, or there was
Yeah,
no increase in after hours.
But no
fees.
guarantee.
but yeah, no one,
Right.
no one
Right.
guaranteed they'll be over 24 hours.
Yeah.
They'll do, they'll do this, they'll do that.
Yeah.
Is anything in danger of getting too cold that we know of? Freezing pipes or anything? Okay.
I mean, is it like 25 degrees over
No,
there?
one room is 71 and another will be 59, so
Okay.
I don't know. I imagine one unit is not
Functioning.
functioning or something.
So we would expect them to be out tomorrow maybe, or, I mean, they have
I'm
a,
hoping so.
I would call them in the morning, and if they can't give you an answer, then they'll go down the list or
Then we'll go
something.
to E.H. Williams.
Okay, so as far as the HVAC upgrade, we're waiting on another,
quote,
I'd
Quote,
like to
yeah.
get at least one more quote. I'm not sure if I want to put stock in whatever. The problem is, there's only limited people who service or have that availability for that server that we're looking for. Midstate was going through receivership, if you remember. So I'm not sure if I want to put any stock in anything that we get from them. That's the other problem. If I get a hold of E.H. Williams tomorrow, I'll ask if they deal with that. But I just don't know who else to call at this point. I'm not an HVAC gal.
yeah. Yeah. Well, we can't be the only building that has this problem or situation.
Apparently we are. All right.
I feel like we took a lot of measures to not wind up like Palmyra Borough's heating issues.
Yes.
And here we are. Or is there cooling, heating, cooling?
Yeah.
They have issues also. Okay, so we'll table that till our next regular meeting. Is that correct? All right. And then moving on to employee handbook discussion. So at this point, our solicitor has asked us to be present while discussing it from here on out. So we're gonna table that until our next meeting, which
Can you
is
make a motion for that, please?
to, do you want me
table.
to table? Yep, I'll motion to table the employee handbook until March 12th.
Second.
Questions?
Is there a reason why he feels he has to be here for that discussion?
Jenna, you had discussions with, I saw emails, there was a couple things that we talked about.
He felt that he was giving legal counsel anyway on the discussion for it and would just rather have it with everybody in the room together.
What was this one he wanted to change to, whatever. So,
I haven't had any direct conversation with him, but it appears from his email that he has strong opinions about guiding us, and some of it that he didn't want to bounce back and forth, felt it was easier for all in the room or the residents as well to,
hammer it out,
yeah.
basically.
How much has the township paid him to do this handbook, out of curiosity?
I can look up the bills if you,
I'd appreciate that.
if you want to fill out a right to know request, I'll print one or you tomorrow. Okay.
I think honestly, the issue is if we don't resolve a handbook that hasn't been resolved with the old one, we're in legal jeopardy. We're in legal jeopardy. And that could cost a lot more than the hours and the time that we're trying to spend on this.
I mean, is he basically writing it? Or
No.
No.
How much, can you guesstimate how much time he's put into this?
I,
Has it mainly been you writing it, or?
it was
Supervisors
one that was
writing it?
previously
It was-
written, that Patrick and I gave it to the police association, had comments on it, and those comments were integrated into what the board has at this point.
Yeah, I'm a little confused, to be honest, by some of the notes, because the feedback, and I'm you know, still fairly new, but the feedback that was noted seemed to be coming from the police department. So it seemed like you guys were part of the process, at least from my perspective, because there were notes there that they came from you guys. Like we want to keep everybody part of the process, but I thought we were doing that, so I'm concerned if you think we're not.
If I can just put it out there, there was communication that the township was revisiting the issue, and we had, as a police association, had come forward and said we felt we should be separate from that manual. However, if the township decided to go that direction, we volunteered to be part of the process and assist in any way we could. We were delivered back the product in August of 2018. We noted that there were some glaring problems as far as how that would impact the police department and some other legal matters, so to speak. So we have requested multiple times to meet directly with the Board of Supervisors, just like we would for a contract. We didn't get a response on those, which prompted our last communication with the board. We really would like for this not to be adversarial. We are good team players. We want to move forward as a team. So that's what prompted the last letter. We're reaching out trying to say, we didn't think it was going well up to this point.
You're not talking about a private meeting with the board, are you?
No, it could be a meeting with whomever you like and however it wants to occur, but for the association.
No, I mean, I just want to make sure, like, when we get together, and this is why, like, you'll rarely see us together in public, frankly, because two of us make a quorum, because of a 3-person board. Like, I mean, you'll rarely see us, because we don't discuss, believe it or not, we don't discuss township business when there's 2 of us together, because you know, we're creating a quorum and a right to know in a public, you know, situation, so, like, I don't mind hashing this out in a public meeting. I mean, that doesn't bother me at all.
I don't think any of us have had, I mean, most of it's like what was done and what we believed was input from the police department or association's previous review, those notes, and Patrick's advice to this point. I have only discussed this manual in, what, 1 or 2 meetings right here. There's been no,
That's just that
there's
one.
been no discussion as far as on my behalf beyond this with anyone, and, you know, including Jenna. So what I've known about it, said about it, I said sitting here.
I think the original format for that manual came from Manager Earnhardt, and then got passed along to Manager Arval. And then in 2016, we were set to actually have a meeting with the board and the manager. At that point, it just got abandoned.
Yeah.
And we thought that was it, it was over. And then in 2017, we learned it was gonna be revisited again, so on and so forth, so
Yeah.
that brings us to today.
Yeah, I don't think it can be over until something's resolved, because again, I think like it's too old in terms of like personnel policies and what we would be in legal jeopardy for, you know, in 2019. Honestly, like it there's some situations that could come up that weren't
Yeah.
anticipated when the original employee manual was out there. So I don't think, yeah. And like Jack said, I mean, the only discussions we really had have been here. But you know, we do have to work through this and resolve it.
And this has changed since that first one that Earnhardt had.
The skeleton looks to be the same, and then some of the content has changed over time. And we did see that some of the things that we had pointed out for the purpose of saying, basically, we already have our standard operating procedures on our side, so on and so forth. We had made the suggestion, as far as the police department is concerned, that updating for us could be done through that mechanism. However, we recognize too the township may want a broader township-wide manual. And if so, then we wanted to work with you folks to make sure everything was good to go.
Are those SOPs or SOGs or however you are those something that, it's my understanding they've never been like approved by the board? Is that something like user willing?
I think some have been in the past and others have not, and Chief can correct me if I'm wrong on that. It just depends on what it is.
I mean, I just so we're on the same page, I assume you understand our position, like we're, you know, morally, ethically responsible
Yes.
for your actions, and if we have no documentation over it, you know, that's not a position I want to be put in, nor would you or anybody else. But on the flip side, I'm not interested in, you know, how you conduct your investigations, and you know, like that's, I don't think that has any business, you know, being per se approved by us or being in the public eye. That's not what I'm after. But you know, if the guts of your SOPs cover the things that we are, like I don't see any reason why, you know, maybe they'd be integrated or however it is, but I'm certainly open to that discussion.
Yeah, I don't think any of us wants to be confrontational either. I think we're just trying to get something done that should have been done a while ago. That does essentially need, like, it does need to be done. And that's not any reflection on the police department. I'm more looking at it as a much wider. I'm not looking at this going, this is a police department. I get your issues. I'm looking at it as we need to have this document to legally protect us if something happens, and frankly legally protect the taxpayers too from a lawsuit we could face as the result of not having a policy in place so we're just trying to work through it. But we're more than happy to work through it with you.
Yeah, we're not pushing this through and, you know, people are gonna be unhappy with, I mean,
Yeah.
we can't make every employee happy. I mean, there's gonna be stuff in here, but we're not pushing it through to say, forget you guys, we don't care, I mean, by any stretch of the imagination.
Were our, like, do you know, can you tell me offhand, like, were our requests to meet with you concerning this manual presented to you, or, because we had made multiple ones and never got a response back, so we were left just to wonder, you know, we had no answer to whether or not you were interested, were not interested, what.
The first request I got, I responded to you, so.
No, I'm talking about, like, we made requests.
That's what I'm saying, I'm just saying, for me, the first time I was made aware of it, I responded to you. That's where, that was the first time. I can't.
Well, I know we've had discussions that the police were questioning the manual, but.
Yeah, but as far as like a formal, we wanna meet with you, like, I never saw anything, the first one I got was when I reached out to you.
Did anyone else? Because Jack, Bill, you're new. Jack, you're relatively new. Were all these years, have any other requests been presented to you?
To sit down and hammer this out with just the collective bargaining agreement. I'm trying to think back to Sean's, I mean, that, I don't know, I can't remember that. As current with Jenna, I know we had talked about that the police had feedback and we were getting that, and that there may be a time that we need to meet together and get more into it, but let's get a skeletal thing together and get it going. But no, I don't know if it was, we need to meet now, I don't know. Not that I remember.
If I could just say, I think the things being characterized as input were things we had come back to show examples of. We felt this is why it was going to be very difficult to integrate both the uniformed and the non-uniformed employees. And then some of those things were sort of addressed in the last thing that we had seen. Just to give like two examples, and I don't want to bore you guys with it, but just something as simple as an employee cannot possess drugs on township property. Well, how are we going to bring back illegal drugs that we seize from a car and put into evidence? It's stupid, I don't want to call it stupid, minor things like that that not everybody's thinking about, all the way to things that we would contend are items of mandatory bargaining. So, in other words, the new policy may come in, and where the non-uniformed employees, that's fine, but we come in and now it's either a change for us or it's contradicting our current collective bargaining agreement. Those are things that we'd want to have the impact bargaining on to say, this is new or different, and Pennsylvania law says we're allowed to bargain over this.
Right, isn't there language in there though that says
It
that?
does specifically state several places in the manual, not only in the beginning, that anything under your CBA is, we divert to your CBA specifically for those items.
But we still have our standard operating procedures, our rules and regulations, and then in addition to that, we have past and prior practice. So if we had done something in the past like this, maybe it isn't in writing, or we have a current practice that's understood that this is the way we do it, and all of a sudden this comes in and changes that, and we look at it and say, okay, that is an area that we would consider, we contend, and our attorney looked at it and said that's an item of mandatory bargaining. The random drug testing, for instance, we would come back and say that's an item of mandatory bargaining. We would need to sit down and go through the terms and conditions of that. And we're more than willing, we're not trying to be like a lot of police departments that let's get all the lawyers involved. We would love to sit down and be part of the team to make these things happen. That's not what but we want to be part of that team too.
My own suggestion, feeling like, so we're drafting this, we're working on drafting this manual for the employees. I would hate to enter into, I mean, if you were all, just different departments and you guys weren't governed by different rules and sets, I'd say, yeah, let's bring the department heads here, let's work through this, hammer it out. But since your situation is far different, beyond any of my comprehension, I've never been involved with a collective bargaining agreement, that stuff's all foreign to me. I would suggest we stick to writing the manual how we think, and when we're done, then give it to you and say, okay, where do we stand? Are we, way out here? Can we make one document work for all, or hey, this just isn't going to work? This needs to be non-uniforms manual, and you're over here, whether it be by a different manual or the if you're between your SOGs, SOPs, if that covers all those aspects. And that's just me talking that way. I sense from your aspect, you feel like, these rules are being made and then all of a sudden one day, bam, they're gonna be here and it's gonna be problems for everybody, but I don't think that's anybody's intention up here, and that they can speak for themselves when I'm finished, but that's the way I'd suggest. That way we're not nitpicking every little piece of it, and, we can move it through, and at the end of the day, if the township's inquiring, or, if it's costing the taxpayers money to have them review it, let's do it one time versus, that's just my suggestion, observation.
So when this all came about, and I handed a copy for your association to review it, Patrick was not very happy with me including that portion of it in the beginning. He wanted the board to kind of write their own and then hand it to you guys. I felt it was very important to have your feedback from the get-go so that the board could make informed decisions on things that you guys had questions on. We're not trying to cram this down anybody's throat, but there are things that we get dinged on every single labor and industry review that we have, every single insurance review that we have. Do you have sexual harassment in your manual? Do you have this? Do you have that? There are things that are required to be in these manuals at this point that we are lacking in, and it leaves us open for lawsuits, basically. If we aren't doing everything that we possibly can as a township to protect the township, we are leaving ourselves open. But I felt it was very important to get your comments first before the board even looked at it to see what needed to happen.
And we can appreciate that too. It's just in our response to you when we gave just a couple of examples, that wasn't like an all-inclusive, here's everything that we have an issue with. It was, we gave you a couple of examples, and which is why we then said we think the best thing to do would be to be able to sit down, and we didn't think that was going to be an issue, which is why we made the several requests to meet with them to sit down, because we thought we'd be able to present it in person a lot easier to say, here's more examples and why we feel that there might be a problem with it here.
I guess that's where the confusion came in. I thought that what was handed to us was all-encompassing, that those were all the issues that you had. So I apologize for that.
But that's why we ended it with asking to meet with them, because we wanted to give something, like, we thought it would be better off handled, in person.
Well, I think what we don't want to get into, or at least what I don't want to get into, is where we're negotiating like this, like a CBA. Like, I've done those, like with the school district. I get the purpose, but this needs to be done in open meetings. Like, we won't even meet with our solicitor's going to be here sitting in front of anybody that's here when we do this. We can meet in the back room. We can go into the back room and meet and do it. We don't do that. That's not what we do. It's not what this board does. I mean, it's about openness. And I think, coming up with a product in an open form and working through it, no matter how long it takes, and then kind of getting the lawyers to review it, and then getting your feedback is what we want to do. We're not trying to cut anybody out. We want an open discussion. But the CBA should be negotiated in private as a CBA, and the issues that are of concern, that's what then it should be handled in opening up the CBA and in private. Do you understand what I'm trying?
I understand what you're saying there.
Like, we don't want to look like we're sitting with you in a back room in private and negotiating an employee mat. A CBA is one thing. I mean, they're already trying in Harrisburg to open up CBA negotiations and having it in public, which I think is very. I don't know if that's good or bad, but like, they're already trying to do that. But so the last thing we want to do is then do something that's really not and take it in private. I guess I'm saying, like.
No, I can understand that. But I guess the point that I was making when we had made the request about meeting, like, we just we didn't get a response back, so we didn't know if it was passed on to you. If it was passed on to you and you were told hold off and respond to them at a meeting, like, we just didn't know what was happening, and that's now we're getting explained that, and I can understand what you're saying there about doing that in a public setting, but if the first time that we had made the request to meet and we were told that, then we would have understood right away and wouldn't have been wondering all this time, so. That's why I had asked before
Yeah,
if the board was actually presented with those requests.
I guess I feel like this whole employee manual was fairly new to me. I didn't realize it was going on as long as it.
It's been, yeah.
I didn't realize it was going on that long, cause, yeah, I just didn't.
I will take responsibility for that. I guess I figure once we had a final product that the association would be pulled back into it. I feel like I've made efforts to make sure that, I guess without responding, but made sure that you had say in it initially before this board even reviewed it. So I will take responsibility for that.
And I
So what-
didn't respond to your letter in January because I just assumed we'd talk about it here as to what our response would be. I brought it to Jenna's attention that it needed to be on the agenda so that we could talk about it. And then she felt that we should get back to you sooner rather than later. So she emailed each of us individually to find out how we wanted to handle it and go about it, so.
And obviously, I mean, it's a fairly complex document. It's taken all these years, and this is where we're at. We like to think of it too, there are some areas in there that you always look to, I don't want to sound like a goofball. We're kind of used to dealing with these types of things, or even manual type things. We feel like we could maybe even be helpful to some of the wording, even on the township's part. Almost like subject matter experts a little bit, because we're used to dealing with this kind of thing, that we might actually be able to come in and go, hey, this wording you have here isn't good. You could probably replace it with this, and it would be better for the township and all the employees in certain instances, whether it be Fourth Amendment issues, whether it be other legal snares that are going to hold up. And we have some guys that are fairly good at that on our side that would be able to come in and it's not all adversarial. We're actually saying we want to.
Right. I don't think we want to. I don't think we would. Yeah, I don't view it as adversarial anyway. Speaking for myself, like I think, like I'm kind of wondering if there's two phases of this. I don't know, but like working much of this out in public, then and coming up with a document that we send over to you guys to actually take
It seems to me we're like so close. That's why I'm like,
Yeah.
you know, I almost feel like, can you just pause a second? Let us finish it. If we were starting from scratch, that's exactly what I would have said. Hey, like, you know, we need someone from the police department, you know, we need someone from the highway, we need someone from the sewer, and, you know, Jenna, like, as far as a supervisor, I don't think, like, I need to be sitting there and writing every single, like, hey, you guys hammer it out, like, you know, okay, here's the section we don't agree, you know, then, you know, we can weigh in or whatever, but it just seems like the thing has dragged on far before my time, like, we're so close, just let us put it together, and, you know, that's where it's at, like, and then we'll bring it, like, okay, let's throw it on the table, can we make something out of it or not?
Would we be given a little bit of, obviously it's taken years to get here,
Yeah.
for us to be able to come back and say, okay, here's what we.
Me personally, if we give it to you and you tell us it's gonna take 90 days to, you know, I don't care.
It's been going this long, it'd be better to have it,
No,
it'd be nice to
I
have it by
think
the
we
end
don't
of
want to
this
get off
year.
the board. I think we don't want to get off the board and leave this for the next board. I mean, kind of that's the way I feel like. Although
I think we can give you any amount of reasonable time.
Maybe, yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
that we
It
appreciate
seems like you
that.
guys are just asking for a collaborative process.
Yeah.
You want to be engaged in the process, you don't want to hear throw it across the fence.
I know with some, you guys go to PSATs, we have the FOP, I mean, you see how it goes, okay, the township does this, and then it's all kinds of litigation back, and then it's adversarial, and everybody, it's no good. And it's so much better when it's a partnership and everybody comes in and everybody's happy at the end. So,
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't think we're looking. I guess I'm not looking to jam this down anyone's throat. I'm just looking to keep moving the ball, like so that, and then at the end of the day, hopefully, it's something that everyone comes to an agreement on. Notwithstanding, I mean, there's going to be CBA issues that we might have to talk. About. I get that, like, Like, your jobs are very different than others in the township. I think we all get that. And I never, yeah, I don't know. I haven't felt like we've had a.
Well, and our last time we met for this, I mean, we got through 17 pages, and that was 2.5 hours worth, and that was the first time the three of us got to even talk about it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't think we're on a fast track, but we just need some time to even discuss it. So, yes, Mark, Ed.
From being at the last meeting, and that's what I was gonna say, I was kind of, just like a citizen, that you were working on an employee manual, but the police weren't even part of that because they have their own agreement. Now, I know that some things came up about, you know, seatbelt use and stuff like that, but the main part, I remember you guys saying we refer to the CBA for that, and that's not part of this. So, you know, I was looking at it like, okay, this might be a general employee manual and has nothing to do with the police.
And that's where I'm, like, the things we've gone through so far, like, I wouldn't change any different. Like, if the police department has reasonings for no seatbelts, for example, I'm not taking that out of the employee manual for the rest of them. Like, if that can be addressed over there, then hey, great. And if it turns out that 80% of that, doesn't apply, well, then perhaps we just need to, instead of taking some things from there and putting it in this manual, perhaps we just need to take a few things here and, put it into their agreements or processes or whatever. But until it's all there, I don't.
Could I make a point, please? I think our policy manual is very comprehensive, probably more restrictive than what the employee manual is going to be. So between that and the CBA, I think we're covered pretty well. Patrick is reviewing our policy manual, I think, so he's going to have some suggestions, and then ultimately we'll make some changes,
And hopefully
I think
it'll be
the board is then
conclusive.
going to approve the whole thing.
Yeah, so if we approve that, policy manual is agreeable to anyone, we can
And it's all
defer.
cohesive.
We can all defer, like, we can
Yeah.
defer to both the policy manual and the.
There are some
the
things
CBA.
that the township is required to do for all employees that probably is not in any of our documents, and I can't imagine it's too many. I think it'd be very simple just to say these X, Y, and Z applies to everybody, and the police just go by what you already have in place. We had our study done by Chief Eller and beefed up our policy manual extensively after that based on his suggestions. And I just think that we're covered pretty well by that.
Yeah, I think when I was at the Hershey Company, I think they had a separate manual for the bargaining unit versus salaried people. Because it's, it's like a different beast.
Going back to the possession of drugs, yeah, technically we would be in violation of that policy, but we have handling of evidence procedures that we're covered. You can't take evidence outside it, so it's common sense that we have to handle drugs, and we're exempt from state law, much less the employee manual. So I think it's not worded exactly, maybe not even in the same topic as what the employee manual would be, but because we run so differently over there, I think probably most areas are covered by something, one policy or another.
Okay, so do we have a tabled motion? I think
We
I
have a
motioned to
first, a
table it.
second, but I don't
And then we
have
had
a-
discussion?
There was discussion.
There was no vote.
There
Okay.
was no vote.
Any more discussion for this moment? No. Okay, so all those in favor? Aye. Good and welfare.
Talking about the backhoe.
No.
That will be next meeting,
I wanted
and
Scott
Scott will
to-
be here.
he wanted
What was
to-
that?
The backhoe.
Just had you guys checked with Tillett Plumbing Heating about the air conditioning? They have a couple of good techs that might be able to, and they're local, they might, Just so you know.
Oh, and we like them.
Sewer issue.
Yeah, one of our guys' brothers works there.
Yeah.
So, and my dad trained one of their guys, so I know they know their stuff, so I just want to throw it out there, something.
They do heating and cooling?
And they do heating and cooling, this size commercial and the tonnage. I'm
That's the
not
only thing I
sure.
wasn't sure. I know Jeff, I know senior and junior very well. I know
Yeah,
Bill's
good,
brother.
good,
Yeah, they're great
good
people.
folks. And
I'm not sure that this will be in their wheelhouse, but certainly worth the call.
just wanted to throw it out
Yeah.
there, that's all. Thanks.
Yeah. They got us out of the sewer pickle the other.
And it was only $150 for them. I
Yeah,
was
at
amazed when I got the
midnight.
bill. I was like, what are you, it was like 2 o'clock in the morning and you're only charging us $150, okay. Just pay
Sold.
the bill quickly before it changes mind.
All right. Any other good and
Just-
welfare?
Just once I noticed I was driving in, the vigil down the street. It's always sad when something like that happens in the community, so thoughts and prayers.
Yes, to that family. Mm-hmm. Yes. Horrible. Okay, so Jack made a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. Yeah, that's horrific. I didn't realize his family was
I
right
didn't
there.
either.
I didn't know that.
Did you guys handle that?
Oh, I forgot to mention people were recording.
I have it written in my notes.
Okay, good.
What?
I assume you're.
Yeah, I didn't realize it was right
Yeah, except it didn't work.
until I drove in. I knew what it was.
Her
as
memory's
soon as I
full.
saw it.
So, it didn't
I
actually
knew him,
record.
but I don't. Yeah, I mean, I think he knew him, but I always say he knew him well.
He wrestled
And it was
for a year and a half. Sorry about that.